this meeting is going to be three-part, really. We're going to start with Amber. She's going to present our history challenge, which we talked about how many years ago, Amber? It seems like a long time ago. I know Vince was involved with that, and everybody got excited. And I know a lot of people have been thinking about it already because we have distributed the images, but Amber's going to give us a little more background historically on the images because I already asked her what a couple of images were, so she shared that with me. So that's going to be our first part of the meeting. And when Amber is speaking, we'll mute, and then we're going to open it up for just some brainstorming and some ideas and some sharing. This was originally presented as a competition, but I think we need to call it a sharing. We don't usually post all the images that have been shared when we pick a winner. This time the gallery is going to go up on our site, and anybody who enters will be public after the one chosen is chosen. So we do have a gallery start. We're going to share that after the meeting, how to upload them and how to name your images. But instead of just showing that one person who was chosen, we're gonna keep it open to the public so that the public can see our work. So Jay, if you can admit waiting room people, I just had to admit somebody there. Okay, so if you can keep an eye on that for me. If you want to share anything or questions, you can share that in the chat as always, and we'll keep an eye on the chat. But we'll mute while Amber's speaking, and then we'll open it up to everyone so we can all gather and put our heads together as far as ideas or thoughts on the project and thoughts on images. Then what we're going to do is we're going to open it up for Alan. He's been heading up our challenge, our ongoing challenge and need for stock images for the hospital projects. So there has been some changes there we want to share with everyone. I know a lot of people know about the changes, but I'm going to let Alan speak on that and give us a little bit of background on that, because that's really important to the club as far as the fundraising and also getting our name out there. That's one of our better marketing tools, I think, because a lot of people have found us because they see our images hanging in these facilities. And then the third part is, like Jay already started, we're going to talk about some of the upcoming events. I know, Kim, you have one, Jeff has one, Ivan has one, and Jay wants to organize one, so that we can get together. And we've had a number of them, and they've been fairly successful. I'd like to see a lot more people out there. That it makes a lot more fun. Our macro workshop was a lot of fun because we had close to 12 people there, and it was really interesting to share and get together and shoot some macro. So, and Jay wants us to decide what date Nobles Grove is going to happen. He just won't pick a date, so it's a question mark still. And we need to get that up there because we would like to do it during the week instead of weekend. So I'm going to turn this over to Amber. Amber is the curator of the Historic Center. She came up with this idea. She contacted me out of the blue in the info at burksphotographic.com address. And we jumped on it pretty fast because it was a great idea. And Amber, I'm going to let you talk about the history of, what is it called? The Lantern Image Club, I believe.
Reading Lantern Club.
Yeah, the Lantern Club. I never would have known what it was if you just called it the Lantern Club. Mm-hmm. But it was the precursor of actually our club in a lot of ways. So she has a presentation for us. She's going to go over some of the history, some of the background of the images, and the creator, the doctor who took all these images. She already shared with me that she has titles for a lot of these images. That'll clear up what the image is for us. So we're going to interpret these images, not recreate them, but interpret them in a modern way. So Amber, you can share, and we will watch the chat. So if there's any questions during your presentation, we might jump in and ask the question.
All right? Certainly.
Okay, so okay. Go ahead and share.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Oh, I can see it.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. As Bob said, my name is Amber Vroman and I'm the curator at the Berks History Center. So I'm going to start by just talking a little bit first about the Berks History Center, which is otherwise known as, or sometimes more widely known as, the Historical Society of Berks County. We were founded as the Historical Society for the county in 1869. So it was in 2019 that we actually celebrated our 150th anniversary, making us one of the oldest historical societies in the state of Pennsylvania. We're comprised of a museum and also a research library located next to each other at 940 Center Avenue and 160 Spring Street in Reading, PA. So we're right near Charles Evans Cemetery, if anyone's familiar where that is, right in the historic district. And our mission is to lead the way in telling the unique story of Berks County and its diverse people, with the aim of building an inclusive understanding of our impact on national history, strengthening our community, and for all audiences now and in the future. Now, oh, there we go. Now, because we have been around and collecting objects for over 100 years, like museum collections have, or museum policy has really evolved over the years. So starting out, we really came from a place of just sort of taking anything that came through the doors. There wasn't always a good paperwork trail, for example. Things weren't always cataloged properly. So as we got towards today, basically, there's thousands and thousands of objects in the collection that we just needed to get a bit better control over. So in 2016, our former curator, Bradley Smith, he completed what we call a collections management initiative, which essentially was an inventory of every single object in the collection from the museum's attic to the basement, which uncovered almost 30,000 objects, artifacts, and works of art. Now, one of the, well, at the time, I was actually working there as an intern. So Brad was my mentor. And one of the things that we came across, which you'll see towards the right-hand side of the screen, is that wooden box. And in that box were about 180 glass lantern slides. So we could pull a couple out and see sort of what they were, but it sort of always remained in the back of my mind. I always wondered what those photographs were, who took them, because just at a quick glance, they were just remarkable, but we had to keep moving. So then fast forward to 2019, Brad actually went back to the State Museum of Pennsylvania, and late 2019, I was offered the position of curator. So I started on January 2nd of 2020, which means I had about 2.5 months of a normal job before the COVID-19 pandemic arrived and we were all sent home for quarantine. And with that, I was really trying to come up with meaningful projects that I could work on from home while we were not allowed to be in the office. And so my mind traveled back to that box we came across with those wonderful lantern slides in them. And so when I could take a trip into the museum, I grabbed the box, and I actually ended up finding in one of our stairwells several cardboard boxes full of glass plate negatives that I could tell were also taken by the same photographer. So I grabbed all of those, brought them home with the permission of our executive director, of course, and began the process of cleaning and digitizing what ended up being over 700 images. Now, the ones that were in the stairwell, they were very, very dirty. They were in their original paper sleeves, but they were crumbling and just dusty. And at one point, the box must have had water damage. So some of the paper was really adhered to the glass. And so it was a big project to really get them cleaned up and digitized. And then, as you'll see in these photos along the bottom, this is sort of the original state they were in their paper sleeves. And this was my workstation I had set up where I would be able to clean them and sort of record any information that I could see. And then each plate was then rehoused in archival paper sleeves. So that was really a fantastic project to work on while there was not much else to do. And now that we're back and I can be in my office again, I've started to officially catalog all of those plates and lantern slides, because up until now, they might as well have not existed as far as that goes. We had no record for them whatsoever. So I've been slowly inputting those into our collections management software so that they're easily searchable into the future. Now, as I was doing this project, it just kept coming into my mind about how this would make such an awesome exhibit once we finally could be open to the public again. So really, by the time I got through all of those 700 some scans, it was a matter of really picking my top favorites, and then, which was very difficult, by the way, and really then starting the process of how those would be exhibited. So it was earlier this year in April that the exhibit officially did open with about 125 images from the collection scanned and printed out at various sizes and exhibited in different themes throughout one of our galleries. So the hope, which I'll talk to you a little bit later about, is the phase 2 of this exhibit, which is essentially what your project is for this. So to talk just a little bit more about the man behind the camera lens, he was actually a really interesting guy, it came to be. His name was William Albright Hayman. He was born in 1861 in Pottsville, but as a young child, his family moved to Reading, Pennsylvania. In 1889, he married his wife, Agnes Small, and he graduated from a medical college in Philadelphia in 1891. So his profession for the rest of his life was actually a medical doctor. He was the chief radiologist at Reading's Homeopathic Hospital, where he worked till he retired in 1941. Now, as you'll see there, he also had 3 children, Guy, Miles, and Catherine. They're actually popular subject matter in a lot of his photographs. So once we could decipher who was who, they're really easy to sort of find as you go through his photographs. But he died in 1942 and is buried in Charles Evans Cemetery. So now, besides being a medical doctor, he was also a hobbyist photographer, and a fantastic one at that. So he took, at least in the photos that we have at the Berks History Center's collection, we have a lot of photographs depicting family life, daily life, things like landscapes, still lifes, and figure studies. All of the compositions we have were developed on glass that we can see. And for a great majority of the images we have, he kept meticulous information, such as creating a title for them. He would date them, the location the photos were taken sometimes, often the weather conditions, exposure time, etc. And he was also president of the Reading Lantern Club, which I will talk a little bit about. Now, I wanted to include this wonderful photo of Hayman's camera itself, which we are fortunate enough to have in the Berks History Center's collection as well. So for the exhibit, this was great to add an object of 3 dimension to an otherwise mostly 2-dimensional exhibit. And so a great majority of the photos on exhibit were taken with that very camera. So that's very special. As you can see here, this is just an example of some of the paper sleeves that came from the glass plate negatives specifically. So this exemplifies really, so here's the title, Nursing Zebra, born May 22nd, 1900 in the Philadelphia Zoo, June 22nd, 1900, a dull day. And then all of the specifics on the exposure time and things like that. I'm sure you all look at that and might know exactly what it means. I don't, but maybe somebody could explain those things for me. But we're just so fortunate to really get this snapshot in time, essentially, of what was going on at the time. These incredible images were taken. So now a little bit about the Reading Lantern Club itself. It was a membership group comprised of photographers from the local area. And what they would do, they'd meet in each other's homes with their glass plate negatives, with their lantern slides, and they would use devices called lanterns. So if you take a look at the center of that table there, this device here, it's a gas lantern that the slide would fit into, and then it would be lit with a flame and would project as the light source, and it would project the image on a wall, and they would just sort of sit around and basically view each other's images. Now they also held and attended public exhibitions and contests as well. So if you come visit us at the Berks History Center, in the part of the exhibit that talks about the Lantern Club, we actually have an original 1903 program from an exhibit that the Reading Lantern Club held with people from all over the country, actually, that came to Reading, Pennsylvania to exhibit their best photography. So yes, he did photography as a hobby on the side, but he actually did take it quite seriously and was very interested in showing off his work. So I'd like to think that he'd be really excited about the fact that his work is being exhibited over 100 years later, and that it's sort of pulling all of you into the mix as well. So I just sort of broke it down into the same groups that I have exhibited in the gallery at the museum. So these necessarily, you'll see some that are familiar for ones that I've picked as the 15 images that we're basing the project off of. But I included some new ones as well, just to give you a sense of the variety of images that he took beyond what we're necessarily working with for this project. So as I mentioned, you'll often see his 3 children in the images. So in this first one where they're all sitting here for tea, that's his wife and his 2 sons and their beloved pet Fleet, actually, based on just his meticulous detail keeping. We know that the dog's name was Fleet, and he took a lot of portraits of him as well. We have Agnes standing there in the hayfield as well, and just some great other images. The one at the top where Miles is running, that one was him basically experimenting with action as he was running across the camera. He kept track of how far away he was from the lens and everything like that. So just really, really neat to see. Next is daily life. So I know I provided, I think 3 of these for the project. If we go from left to right, this is a man churning apple butter. And when George Miser, he's our local Berks County historian, who's also an expert on William Hayman. He often talks about this specific image as well, and likes to point out the fact that there's that little boy who must have gotten in trouble because he's running away from the camera, where normally young kids were always excited to have their faces shown towards the camera. So he said he's always sort of stomping off into the distance, so you can just get a sense of what might have been going on at the time there. But just a really cool historic shot where you get a sense of what somebody did to just create a very, very popular food of the time and still today. Next, we have 2 farmers harvesting hay, which is just really, or wheat, I should say, which is really neat to see. And really not, I mean, obviously the equipment is different today, but the commonality is really still there, which is what I just love about these photos. Yes, we don't necessarily harvest crops in that same way or cook at a stove that looks like that, but we still know what's going on. I don't really know too much about those 2 gentlemen in the top right corner there. That photo didn't have any information with it. I just absolutely, I loved their gesturing and the clothing and just the lighting. Just found it to be just a neat composition. And then I was telling Bob before the meeting started, that one in the bottom right corner, we don't know anything about her as well, but that is just one of my absolute favorite photos from the whole collection. I have that blown up to about 24 by 30 inches in the gallery. And if I just stand there and stare at her, I tend to just get lost in her facial expression. And I just try to think of what her life must have been like. So I believe that's another one from the project that was picked. So these daily life images are just really, really neat to see. So all would have been taken around from like 1898 to 1903. That's the range I mostly saw while scanning. I also have a decent amount of landscape images that were part of the collection. Not as many as I was hoping to see, to be able to maybe compare what sites looked like in 1900 to maybe locating those same sites today and doing a compare and contrast of, but still a nice variety to be able to exhibit. The one that we always like to talk about, and I know you all being photographers would understand more than likely, is that one in the bottom center, which was taken in the middle of the night in a snowstorm. So trying to just picture how he got his exposure time to be absolutely perfect to get an image that clear. And like I said, I'm not a photography expert, but I just have to imagine that was fairly difficult to get an image like that captured at the time period with the equipment that he had to use. That one in the bottom right is of the Ephrata Cloister. So not a Berks County scene necessarily, but still really cool to see. There were other images, like he was at the Philadelphia Zoo or the beach at Atlantic City. So just, he was all over the place, and he seemed to always have his camera with him, which was really neat. And then we have still life and figure study. So I have several examples from the collection, not necessarily all of them, but of where he was trying to be very specific in placement of objects, and also just really studying specific lighting and positioning of the human body, which you could definitely tell was what he was going for in a lot of his compositions. I will say, I mean, it's not easy to see with these specifically, but when you look at some of the glass plate negatives, they were more of the raw images, I'll call them. But you can tell in his composition, he meant to then crop those down and turn them into lantern slides that would have then been exhibited. So you kind of get a sense of what he was doing. He'd position people in front of backdrops like this gentleman here with the newspaper. And while, yes, that was on a fairly large piece of glass, there were instances where compositions were then taped off where the smaller size would be to create that lantern slide that then was more than likely exhibited with the Reading Lantern Club. So that was really neat to see as well. And now just to talk a little bit about the collaboration with the Berks Photographic Society, which I'm pretty sure you've all been notified and provided the 15 highlight compositions. So out of the 125 photos on exhibit at the Berks History Center now, I then took that another step forward and narrowed that down even further to 15 of like the best of the best, I'd call them, for hopefully you all to either pick one, as little as one or as many as 15, to come up with your own interpretation as to how you sort of see that image in a lens of today. So whether that is trying to replicate William Hayman's image to a T, but with just that modern spin, or looking at it and just coming up with a totally new idea in your head. It could be almost unrecognizable to the original, and just seeing where your artistic freedom takes you. That's really my goal ultimately, is to see how photographs 100 years ago can be interpreted today, and let our visitors basically compare and contrast to the original, which will still be hanging on the wall above your your image below on an easel. And the hope is that we would be opening for this phase, which I've been calling phase 2, tentatively scheduled for October 15th. And they would be on display in our museum until approximately March of 2023. Now, I can go into specifics, or I can even type that up in the next coming days to get out to all of you. But as far as format and all of that, but really the goal is to just look at the photos that I've provided that were taken by William Hayman and just really run with them in the year 2022. And I'm so excited. I hope you're all excited, and I just can't wait to see where you take it. And I thank you all for having me here tonight. If you do have any questions, I have my email and our phone number up there. You can certainly contact me at any time, and maybe we can chat a little bit if there's more you need from me, like I said, about specifics, or if you have any questions today, feel free to ask. But that's all I have for you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amber. And I do have those YouTube addresses. I'll put those in the chat. Amber has a number of YouTube recorded meetings, and the one is from, I forget the speaker now, Amber.
So we had for our main exhibit opening to our members, we had our local historian, George Miser, who also is expert, I'd say, on William Hayman himself. He has his own fairly large collection of Hayman images himself. He came and did a presentation, and with an old school slide projector, actually projected some of the highlights from his personal collection, which we had recorded professionally, and that is available on the Berks History Center's YouTube page.
Yeah, and I just posted that in the chat. So the first one is that presentation. The second one is just the Berks History YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you. That's great. I mean, I would really recommend watching that. It's a great quality recording, and you can learn a little bit more about William Hayman from George's perspective, and see some images that we don't have in our collection at the Berks History Center. So it was really, really neat. There was not a whole lot of overlap at all between our two collections and the exhibit. So
yeah, Amber told me before the meeting that all of the doctor's images aren't in your collection. They're spread around. So some people might run into some of them in some attics. Who knows?
Yes, if you do, let me know, please.
Because George, you said that George has quite a few in his collection.
Yes, he does. And they're similar thing to the story you were telling me. They're all in his attic from what he remembers, and he's in his upper 80s, and it's been a long time since he's been able to get up there, and I've offered my help to go up and get them for him, and it's my understanding it's just difficult to get to them with the amount of treasure he has in his house. So the things that he provided for that presentation are images he's had scanned from the collection since I'd say the 70s or so. So I was sitting there pressing the button on the slide projector for that program. I asked if he wanted us to make him a PowerPoint presentation. He's like, nope, we're doing this old school. So it was a cool experience.
I know Vince has been trying to get him to speak to our group for quite a while. And it sounded more like he would do it in person, but definitely not on Zoom.
And that is why. Yeah. And he is not quick to let us scan the slides he has. I think he just wants to keep that that physical and intellectual control on his own collection, which is understandable. But I didn't really, until a couple of weeks before the opening, I did not know that was the format we were taking for the presentation. So that explains why Zoom would not work.
Yeah.
I did speak with him. We had a real nice conversation.
Good.
And giving talks is getting a little beyond him.
Yep.
Although he actually indicated that he would love to have people to his home to show various photographs. He has a whole collection of 3D images from back in the early 1900s. And he has a 3D projector and a giant silver screen. And
Yes.
he said he would really love to do it, but physically it would be a challenge. And he said he would be in touch if he felt he could handle it. So he wasn't 100% sure he would even be willing to do a presentation in person for us. I had started back in 2019 to try to get him to speak about Dr. Hammond when the Reading paper did an article which has been referenced in our newsletter. Our newsletter has had 2 articles about this process that's referenced in Friday's newsletter. So that was the 3rd reference to what you just talked about in the newsletters. And there's a link in the newsletters with all the slides, the 15 images that you've printed, Amber. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Vince, what I thought we'd do is we'd number them, and that's how we can collect the entries. They have slide numbers, but we're going to place big numbers on the actual slides because I don't think we have any titles. But there are 15 slides. And I think everybody here has probably checked them out. And I know that a lot of you have talked to me about, I have this idea, have that idea. The one about the apple butter, I had a totally different, I thought he was making soap or he was boiling his old socks or whatever he was doing. So it's good to know it was apple butter. I just knew it was a backyard barbecue. That's what I was going to do. But I remember my great grandmother making apple butter sort of that way. So yeah, it's not that old.
Well, and what I can do is, because I know I sent you the list how long ago of the images themselves.
Yep.
But once I get off of here, I can pull that list back up again, compare it to the records I have, and provide any titles for the ones that do have them.
Before you go to bed tonight, drink a glass of this.
That was the link. I just clicked the link and
oh, it was the ad.
Oh,
it starts with an ad.
That's funny.
But I did start watching his presentation, and it's really nice that you recorded it and make it available.
Yeah.
Because it does really give, and if you grew up in the Reading area or you spent a lot of time here, I'm from Western PA, so I don't have those kind of attachments. But he talks a lot about the downtown area in Reading and the different buildings and the history of and it was really fun to listen to some of the history of the buildings because he really knows that.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
And if you are from Reading area, it's worth a peek and take a look at that recording. So I know that it's going to be a challenge, a couple of them. But it's going to be fun. And like Amber said, it's going to be interpretation. We're not going to try to recreate unless you want to, but an interpretation. So I already know a couple of them that I want to do. I'm going to do the easy ones. Vince, you can do the more difficult ones.
They're all a challenge.
Yeah, I think they are too.
Yeah, it will not be easy and it will take you time. Yes,
and that's why my time's running out. And I'm really bad as far as procrastination. But like I said before, we're presenting this as more of a sharing and creative project as a whole group than a competition. It's going to be a competition because one's going to be chosen and one is going to be displayed in the museum. But we're going to keep the gallery open once it's chosen for everyone to see all of the entries, and we'll keep those up there on our SmugMug channel. So it'll be public so that everybody can see our thought process.
Is that something that we would be able to link for you guys to our website so that if we can highlight the fact that if people come visit, they see the 15
that would be great.
Quote, winners per se, but then we can point them in the direction of the rest of the gallery. I would love to be able to do that. I mean, before knowing that was a thing, I was already hoping to have sort of like a published program of some sort that would be like the honorable mentions of others that are just so awesome that people still should see.
Because,
So
because, you know, in any judging, somebody's gonna pick one, but other people might find another one much more interesting.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it's more of a share than a competition, even though one's gonna be picked.
Yeah, I love that.
And we're gonna work out those details with Amber as far as how to get them printed and where to
Yeah.
get them printed, because you have them on direct printed on, I think, foam core or.
I do. They're on a premium foam board. So they almost feel like plastic almost.
Mhm.
They're definitely sturdier than I don't know, like the foam core you'd get at a
Mhm.
regular store or whatever. But I have them all, they're all about 18 by 20 inches or so. So I'd like to, once we get the winning images, even if it's we have them printed through the same place I printed the ones for the exhibit, of a similar size, and then I'll have we're going to be purchasing easels, and just sort of have those stationed directly
Mhm.
below the image that the winning one is based off of. And I think
Okay.
I'm hoping it'll be just really cool to see. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I hope everybody else is too.
Bob, I have a question for you and Amber. Who will pay for the printing?
Yeah, that's something that the board has to talk about, you know,
Okay,
because I forget, Amber, you gave me a ballpark price that you paid for these.
Yeah, what's really annoying is the shipping cost.
Well,
So
What's that?
Dan Berg prints on that foam board.
yeah, I talked to Dan and Dan's price would, because of his labor, would be 3 times what Amber paid.
okay. I was gonna
Okay.
say it doesn't have to be through what I use, but I really compared a bunch of different sites and really tried to pick the most cost effective, but still was of decent quality. So I think they were like $15 to $20 each, but then it was an additional,
Shipping.
yeah, I don't want to just throw a number out there and it be wrong, but I know like the board itself wasn't bad, and then the shipping was almost as much as the board. So
Yeah. And the price you gave us was probably, like Vince said, much better than our local guy. who
and that's
does all.
unfortunately the case. You'd
Yeah.
love to be able to support
Yeah.
local, but
Yeah.
So Dan he does not have a machine to print directly on foam core. That's part of the expense. So he would have to do a paper print and then glue it to
Got it.
foam core. And that doubles the cost right there.
of
Yeah.
course.
So,
Yep.
but my point was that I don't think we're going to need to solve the question for the prospectus that gets put out for this, and be upfront that I doubt that the members are going to be willing to spend money to have their image printed and then not have the image, so to
Right.
speak. So,
Well,
okay.
the image, Amber, can that go back to the photographer?
Oh, it will.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
will.
but
I
we'll have
wouldn't.
it
I
hanging
wouldn't be
for
keeping
6
those.
months, so it won't
Right.
be in great shape.
Oh, she takes care of her equipment.
Now, people will be touching it. I watched it happen in the museum.
Oh, they're touching the ones that are up there
Yeah.
now. Okay. But yeah, we can work that out, and we can find a price. The best way is to send the 15 as a bundle like you have, and one shipping cost, one cost, and then we'll decide how we're going to either reimburse the club or the club pays for it. We'll have to get the price, and it'll have to be approved by the board. So.
Barbara has a suggestion for a printing house, so you may want to make note of that.
Okay. Oh, everything printing in Gilsborough. Okay. Yeah. So if anybody does have suggestions, we already checked with Dan, but if anybody else knows of any local that prints that process, Amber, it doesn't have to be exactly the same surface or anything. So just
Nope.
a good quality. Okay. And you said, what was the size? I think we have it, but.
I believe 18 by 20 in either portrait or landscape, but I will verify that. It's been a little while since I had to order. So
yeah, that sounds right, I think. Okay. Does anybody have any open up the unmute yourself? Anybody have any suggestions, ideas? Anybody not excited? How can you be not excited about this?
When are the
Alan.
images When's the cutoff to give you images? Do we know that yet?
Yeah, she wants to get it out or open on the October 15th. So we'll have to pull ours together during September.
Okay,
So it'll probably be the first week of September. Now we can start uploading them now. We will send out the gallery because I just created the gallery, and you'll be able to upload your contributions the same way as we do with the competitions. So that address will be sent out with all the other specifics within the week.
will they be uploaded to the corresponding photo?
They'll be
just a-
they'll be uploaded to a gallery on our SmugMug site, similar to what we do for our competitions.
Right, but how will you know what photo that I'm copying?
We're going to be labeling the
Okay.
samples with numbers.
Okay,
So what you'll do is you'll give it a number, you'll give it your name. You don't have to hide your name this time, and just give us your title of your image.
Okay.
And that way we'll collect them as these are the entries for image 1 and image 2 and so forth. So we're going to have 15 numbers. So your file name will start with that number, and then your name and the title of your image. Okay. And remember, it's an interpretation. It's not a recreation.
And you can do any number you like, right?
Yes, you can do one or all of them. Yep. Hopefully we do them all, right, Jay? Or Jay, if you
Good.
pick the most bizarre one, maybe it will be the only one that enters.
then you're picked?
And you're picked, yeah. You're published, yeah. So it better be a good one. Right? Anybody else have any suggestions or questions? No?
Sounds good.
Do you have your ideas boiling out of your head already? David, I know you are. I can tell. Look, he's in front of the red moon over there.
I think it's Moon or Mars. I'm not sure. It's one in the background.
So Amber, we really appreciate this, and I think it's going to be a really exciting exhibit with our images in there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you all come up with.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah. So you can hang out for the rest of the meeting, or you're excused if you don't, if you have something else to do, but I'll be in touch as far as, and if you can send us any titles that you have so we can post those on the slides. Ginny put together a slideshow and everybody has access to that. We will be adding the numbers so there's no confusion. But if we have titles, that'll help anybody who wasn't in this meeting to interpret a little bit easier too. All right. Tracy, you asked where are the images? That link is in the newsletter. In the newsletter, we'll also send that link out again for the PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint slideshow. It's a shared document on Google, is what it is. So we'll send that out again when we send out more detail. But if you go back into the archive of your newsletters, it's in the description of this project. Ginny has a link in there.
I'll put the link in the chat shortly.
Thanks, because I can't remember it either. So Amber, I can't believe you handled those and cleaned them. And how many, you don't have to tell us, I can stop recording. How many did you destroy?
0.
0, wow.
Also,
Yep, 0.
Yeah.
But it was nerve-wracking at times.
Yeah, white gloves the whole time, right?
No, actually, they recommend just bare skin so that it's not as slippery.
Oh, okay.
It would be easier to drop them with the gloves. So you just kind of grab them from the edge, and then I'd clean them with distilled water and cotton swabs and on the non-emulsion side, and scan away.
Yeah, I have some stuff in the closet that's probably just ruined from humidity.
Yeah, moisture's bad news.
Yep, and that closet I know is damp, and most of what I'm talking about is paper. So it's probably some silverfish had a feast on it, and
One of the things I asked Harry about was the association between the Reading Lantern Society and our club. He made an assumption with no information that they were probably related, but he has no data for that. Our club started around 1933. This club, the Lantern Society, was active in the early 1900s.
Right.
and he could not find what happened to it. And there was nothing in our original paperwork with the founding of our club that relates to the Lantern Society. And my guess is it probably became quiet during World War One.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any
Uh,
idea how many members they had? Or was it just loosely
He
organized?
didn't know. I asked
Yeah,
him
and
that
I haven't
question.
found anything either. I mean, if anything, at the very least, they were the Photographic Society was formed out of very similar goals as the Lantern Club, just to share photographic images with one another and the public. So certainly probably got inspiration from the Lantern Club, I would guess.
Yeah,
I would think
Amber,
so.
Amber and I were talking before the meeting too, because this lends itself to the street photographers in the club. Because I can't believe he got just everyday people to pose.
Mhm.
And we talked about that. You probably couldn't get your photograph taken if you're just everyday people back then. So you said most of his photographs were of his family, which makes a lot of sense, but I'm interested in something that was people from the street, and the guy making apple butter, and that woman that mystifies you.
Yes.
I think she's carrying sticks, right? We decided she's carrying a bag of firewood or sticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can find some of those people around today's streets and make them famous now.
Please do.
And do
Amber,
photos need to be taken within the Berks County area?
No, I wouldn't say, I mean, it would be preferred, but it certainly doesn't have to be. He didn't stay to Berks County area. So, like I said, I have a photo from Niagara Falls. I have a photo from the Philadelphia Zoo. I have Atlantic City beaches, Ephrata Cloister. So he did not stay to the confines of the county. So I would say you don't necessarily have to either, but, I guess if you could try to more than not, that would be great, but certainly not, you're not bound to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we don't have any strict rules, Jeff.
No.
Not like Vince's competition, which he's going to talk about next.
Amber, do you have a degree in historical preservation?
No, I wish I did. I have a degree, my undergraduate degree is in fine art. I actually specialize in printmaking. And then my master's degree is in museum studies, so more like public history. The actual conservation and preservation is a whole nother pathway of very, very specialized training. And I envy art conservators. I think that's such a cool job, but I love my job as well, so I can't have them all.
Yeah, a friend of ours, her daughter is in the National Archives.
Yeah.
So she gets to work down there, and that's really exciting because she a couple of years ago she put together one of the exhibits down there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and just going through what we don't see.
Yes, absolutely. That's the best part. I said the basement storage is my best friend.
She's weird. No, it's always a treasure hunt.
You mentioned that the judge is always, it's their own personal decision. So before the pandemic, probably in 2019, the Philadelphia Art Museum had an exhibition. It was the curator's exhibition. And the curator of photography for the Philadelphia Museum of Art went into the basement, and she spent a year going through all the photographs that were down there. And she chose maybe 30 of them for her exhibition of the ones that she thought were worthy.
Mhm.
And I think I liked 5 for a choice of 30. So it's such a subjective process, being,
Absolutely.
picking images and judging one over another. And I found that I took actually iPhone photographs, and I meant to write that up one time for the newsletter. I might still do it because I have the photos. And I just thought some of them were just not, they were very interesting. I certainly wouldn't have picked them, but they were chosen to be exhibited for 6 months at the Philly Art Museum. So
Vince, do they have online archives that you can go through too?
I don't know.
Or because you said thousands of photographs down in that basement.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it would be nice for the public to see them all.
Yeah,
Because they don't let just anybody walk down in that basement, I'm sure.
I'm sure not.
No.
Amber, do you frequent flea markets?
I used to, but usually the best flea market days are Saturdays, which is technically my Friday for the week. So I don't get to go to the same sort of like auctions and flea markets like I used to, but that's always been sort of a fun hobby of mine from the time I'm little. So not as much as I'd like to, but that's good because then I don't come home with stuff.
I see so many photographs of just who knows who they are,
Mhm.
but a historian, if they see the background, see the environment, it might mean something.
Mhm.
But some of those photographs, Jay, you probably do that quite a bit, don't you?
What's that?
Go through flea markets looking for photography.
No, I
No?
don't.
Maybe I will now. Maybe we should start doing that. You might find that Babe Ruth, rookie card or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm sure the glass plates and the old photos are very common.
Yeah.
Or you buy a framed picture and when you take it out of the frame, there's a painting
Yes.
by a master in there, it's worth about
Yes.
$3 million or something.
Yep.
Yeah, people
happening.
are aware of that now, though, Dave. You don't see it that much anymore, unless it's my yard sale, because I
They
wouldn't.
go
know
in
the
there, they go in
difference.
there with their bit scanners, they go in there, scan, they can, what do they call them, the depth things, where they can see through it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
little radar.
Like they've done with some of Da Vinci's artwork, because he just kept painting over it. Yeah.
See what was underneath it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an app like that in the phone now, you just LiDAR and you just go across it.
So that's our first challenge, okay, for the summer, and that's the fun challenge, and hopefully we can get a lot of interest. We're going to bug everybody, including I needed this more than anybody else because I haven't gotten started. I thought this was a great idea and I haven't gotten started. I got all these ideas, and I said to Amber yesterday, they were raking the field next to me, the farmer, and I'm like, oh man, I missed it again. So I'm waiting for him to do the next field because he has another field to do. So maybe I'll catch him there.
Yeah, be on the lookout.
Yeah, because it was a really nice sunset too behind his equipment. It would have been
Oh
perfect.
man.
But,
The link is in the chat box,
Thank you. Yes.
right?
So that's our first challenge. So thank you very much, Amber, and thank you for including us too.
Oh, thank you. And I probably will dip out. So thank
Okay.
you all for having me. And I look forward to seeing what you all come up with.
Great. Thanks.
Hey, Amber.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Bye. Have a good night.
Now, Vince, you have our competition coming up, and I didn't realize the date was so soon either. So
Right. Just as a refresher, Sunday night at midnight is the deadline for submission for the competition, which is being held on June 27. Water-related topics in both pictorial and nature, and using the same SmugMug link. And the last newsletter that came out on Friday has all that information in it. So hopefully we'll get a good number of submissions. I know at least 2 members that had not submitted before have already submitted images. So that's or 1, 2, I think. So that's good. So that's this Sunday. There'll be a letter going out, an email on Friday as another reminder, last minute thing. Hopefully you've collected your water images. June 20 is our next outside speaker. Rich Lewis is going to be talking to us. Rich has met with our club in the past. His title for this talk is Attitude, Inspiration, and Composition, a no BS approach to photography. I think he's a really good speaker. So I think some people had some questions about his judging of our competition, but again, subjectiveness. But I think you'll enjoy that night with Rich. I did one of his Jersey Pine Barren workshops, and he was really good for that one. And then there's the outing, which I guess I can mention now, just so we don't forget, and then you can talk about it later, June 26th, Sunday at Muhammad Ali's training camp. Ivan Bub is going to be running that, and I guess we'll have more about that later when you do those outings with Jay.
Yeah, they're actually, that outing is on the event calendar now, so you can see that. And I think I saw Ken was here. He was here.
He was here.
We'll be having him post that up to Meetup and maybe the Facebook site too. But it is on our website.
I don't have a time for it. All I knew is it was on my birthday, June 26th. So
Oh.
thanks for picking my birthday for that.
So we can all
celebration.
come and celebrate. Cool.
Exactly.
May-
We'll have a
Maybe,
cupcake.
maybe Vince will go a couple rounds.
So that's out now. It's about 40-minute drive to Deer Lake.
Yeah, no, Ivan and Bill went to that last year and they were pretty excited. That's why Ivan decided to offer that to the whole group. There's no limitation on that. There is an RSVP link on the event, so you can RSVP so we know about who's coming. So that's the day after Kim's meeting.
And I see Ken is, his name is still up there. And I don't know if
Yeah.
Ivan has anything more to say about the talk, the
Yeah,
workshop.
Ivan's shearing sheep, I think. Didn't he have a sheep in his lap? There he is.
Yeah, hi. Let me just log in here. Yeah, I think it's a great place to photograph. There's lots to see. It's very historic. There's no entrance fee, and if you can bring your family, friends with you, it's marvelous to see the bed that he slept on in his little cabin, and his the original kitchen and the training ring. Lots of photographs around the ring with all the historic figures. His father painted names of all the famous boxers at the time around the camps, Rocky Marciano, and it's just so much great stuff to see. He built a mosque for himself that you can go into. The other thing is there's also the home that his family lived in, the chalet, the stables, all kinds of things. It's really a pretty property. So I hope to see as many people as possible.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
Ivan, you're real active on the Facebook site. Maybe you just post a notice up there for us.
And on the Facebook page.
Yeah,
Sure.
you can share some
can
of
do
your
that.
images that you sent me. Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah, because that's
Thank
coming
you.
up. But if you want to RSVP, you can through our event calendar on our website. And Ivan, you should get those RSVPs. If you don't,
Right.
I know I will.
Great. And the gentleman that runs it is very hospitable, and he emailed me saying that he's looking forward to seeing us. So it's really great. It's a great place, and I think you'll learn a lot about the great man.
Now, we drove by that so many times because my wife's from up in that area, and
Yeah.
we never stopped. Yeah. So
And
I-
they do accept donations. They don't charge entrance fee.
yeah.
And hopefully, I asked him if we could possibly have a tour. So there may be someone there that actually knew the family and knew Muhammad Ali that would give us a little guided tour as well.
It sounds like
So
fun.
opens at 10. Sounds
And-
good.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Kim, you have the photo shoot, and I posted that on the event calendar too, finally. So that's up there. And it's also been in the newsletter. Now you
Mhm.
said there's only 10 spots left, so I put 10 RSVPs on there. Or no, I didn't put RSVPs, I just put your email address. So
Okay.
if anybody wants to join Kim and Rick for their glamour shoot, Egyptian theme.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
That's happening the day before Muhammad Ali. So that's the 25th, correct?
25th, yes, at 10 o'clock.
Yep. It's going to be a busy weekend.
Mhm.
So do you have anything to add to share with the group on that?
No,
No?
sign up for it.
Sounds exciting.
It's gonna be fun. It'll be
Now
fun.
you've done that before, right? With the
Yes,
same-
we've done other photo shoots with the same model. Yes.
Now, I will put this up on the event. I forgot to do that because of the COVID protocols and everything else. That will be in the Goggle Works So there are some people that won't be masked. There might be some people that won't be vaccinated. So we need to make people that want to join you aware of that. As the board, we talked about having a disclaimer, but we just have to make everyone that's going to participate know that masks aren't required, but they're suggested. If you don't want to be around unmasked, unvaccinated participants,
Then don't
sign up.
come.
Don't sign up. Exactly. It's not a legal, binding legal disclaimer, but we do have one. Vince, you shared one that Lehigh is using right now.
Right.
Yep. So I'll try to pull that together and post that on the event calendar, so everybody is aware of that. But if anybody emails you, Kim, make them aware of it if they're not aware of that. Okay. But that sounds like a fun shoot. Now, is Rick here? I think I saw him sign in. He's going to be your co-director of that, I believe.
Yes, he's excellent for studio work. He's really.
All right. So you're going to set up the light, you're going to set up the backgrounds, you're going to set up the beauty dishes and all that, and you're sharing your own equipment there too.
Yes, there's going to be two different setups. One for the Egyptian, and then the other one just kind of like the beauty glamour headshots.
Yeah, I was going to do it, but I don't think I can because I'm going to go to the Muhammad Ali the next day and the golf outing. And Jeff, you're going to do the golf outing with me, I believe.
Yeah, when is that?
That's
I mean,
on
I know
Monday.
it's that week.
I think it's Monday, the 27th.
27.
I got to double check that. Yeah. So
Yeah, I knew it was a 20, but
that's back to back to back. Yeah.
couldn't remember which one.
Yep. Now, the other thing is Jay can't make up his mind. We have to post that, Jay, so people can start planning. So we need a date. It's going to be in July now, correct?
Well, we never talked about it, Bob, but is anybody else interested in going to Knoebels?
I am.
Okay, well, I'm
But I need
thinking
to know
since you
the date.
mentioned July 26th, 27th, or 28th.
Okay.
So one of those dates, go ahead and president and pick one.
I don't know what days those are.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, 27th. It's Wednesday.
27th?
Yeah, you can blame me if it rains.
Well, we can have a rain date of the 28th.
Okay.
How's that sound?
All right. And you
All
need
right.
to give me a write-up so we can post that out there and we can get that out on the meetup and our website.
All right, the president chose July 27th.
And I'm probably gonna get in trouble. I'm probably double booking myself now. But the 27th, rain date 28th.
Is that an evening event?
Late afternoon, evening is what we'd like to do.
What I'm thinking, and I'm totally flexible, primarily evening, late afternoon and evening, but we can go up anytime we want, maybe shoot a little bit during the afternoon, late afternoon, and then go into the evening. We can carpool up there, I guess. And then come back later at night, whenever.
Yeah, because we're thinking about the lights on the rides and things like that in the evening. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
that's the whole point of that. Yeah. I know it's during the week, so only of us retired folks can do that, right, Jay?
Yes.
I'm not retired, by the way.
Well, we could do it on a weekend, but it's so nice. I would guess it's much nicer during the week without the crowds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to get into the summer
Yeah.
season for them, but I'm sure that the weekend's a lot more crowded. And it's free. It's free to get in. You only have to pay for food or rides if you want to ride.
I will contact Knoebels. I already did, and let them know what date we're planning on being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they don't think we're a bunch of,
Yeah, I know.
inappropriate people photographing kids.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got to be stealthy then. Okay. So that's the date, 27th, 28th is a rain date, correct?
Yep,
And you're going to give me a little write-up to put up there on the event.
sure, sure.
pages. Okay. All right.
Bob, I had indicated for Ivan's event on June 26th. I wasn't sure of the time and I just checked. It's 10 to 1.
Yeah, 10 to 1-ish, I think he said. Yep.
Yeah. That's what's on the event calendar.
Yep. Yep. I think that's when it opens at 10 o'clock. Yeah, Jay?
I was just gonna say, we got 2 spots left, I believe, for this Saturday. If anybody still would like to visit with Dan Berg. It was very good this past Saturday. Very, very worthwhile. Dan has a great studio there for printing and mounting. So there's 2 spots available. If you want to jump on board, you can sign up.
Yep, and that's again on the event list, and it'll take you to the store. I think you're charging $25. Okay,
Yeah.
for that event. Yeah, and you said it's
Which he's giving back to the club.
Yes, he said he's going to give it back to the club. Jay and I think we're going to split it with him. I think it's only fair because he spent a lot of time with these guys.
He
also-
was very generous.
Also spent some equipment and gave you guys presents.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
so 3 people got framed prints of their own images.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. Unfortunately, one person was left out. I don't remember who that was. It was random. It was random. But that's a good point. There are 2 seats left for the Saturday, and it sounds like it's going to be a rainy day anyhow, so you might as well go inside. The other thing would be, I know that Jeff has a planned in August.
July 16th, Antietam Lake.
July 16th. It's just a get together,
Yeah,
informal.
yeah, informal. We'll meet. I mean, still be a sign up, so I know somebody's coming.
Yep.
But we'll just meet and short hike or long hike, depending who comes.
Yep.
And
Now
hike
you
ability.
didn't give me a time, so I just put a time up there, and we can change that as soon as you give me the write-up.
Yeah, I think I did 10 to 12.
All right, I said 8:30 to 12. Okay.
Oh.
I'll change it. I just put a time up there, so.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll get you something,
Yeah,
a little
give me
write up
something on that.
letter and
And the other thing that you're going to organize is the Ole Fair.
yeah,
Again, okay.
yeah, I'll organize the Ole Fair. That's coming up
It's September
September
15th.
15, 16, and 17.
Yeah,
And I volunteered to do photographs for them the last few years. A couple others from the club came out last year, and I just said to the person that I usually work with, do you want more people? And she was more than happy to have more people. So I'll put something in the newsletter the next time and more details as we get a little further on. There'll be a sign up type thing, and the best thing will be they'll give time slots and you kind of say, I'd be there between this time and that time. And then you'll know what kind of activities, whether it's hay bale throwing, tractor pulls, car shows, rides, concerts, food, dancing, bands. There's just about anything you could kind of pick to choose what you want to shoot. So
Okay.
I have more info on that.
okay. And we're open to other suggestions. Some of us went to Sylvia's. I think she logged off. So she invited us up to her hydrangea peony farm, which is nice to get together. There was only a handful of people there, but she didn't plan it. It rained. No, it was supposed to be nice and clear, and it rained. And Jay got poured on. He was stuck out in the rain. We ducked into the house because we were at the top of the hill. But she wants to light her gas plant. There's a plant that you light on fire and it doesn't hurt it. And we didn't get a chance to do that. I know Ginny and Val went the Monday morning and they got better weather, Jay. But you know, if you have an idea, just push it out there. And Sylvia is our contact person now. And her official email is events@berksphotographic.com. So we'll post that out there too.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're getting it organized ourselves. She needs to be up and running on the event calendar. I know Ken has posted the events and I'm posting them right now. But if anybody has an idea and a date they would like to do it, Sylvia's gonna run the schedule, and so that we don't overlap each other too much. Okay, but we have a good calendar for June. We have a decent calendar coming up for July. I am going to put one thing out there in August. I don't know, some of you might have already been there. And the idea is, because of these historic images, there's a lot of musicians sitting in the grass. So I don't know if you've ever been to the Chester County Old Fiddlers Picnic. That runs every year. It's down in Hibernia Park. That's not in Berks, it's in Chester, but it's not that far away. That's August 13th. So if we get some interest there, I'll organize that as an outing. It's August 13th, 10 to 4. So if you're just interested in going down, there's a lot of good opportunities down there to get some candid shots of some fiddlers and ukuleles and whatever they're playing down there, and banjo music. And it's a big deal. And I think I forget how many years this has been going on. I used to live right beside Hibernia and I never went to it. So if you push me, I'll go down with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to put that on the event as an outing. That's August 13th. And I'll head that up and we'll put that out there soon. Any other suggestions? I know, Vince, you're talking about doing something in the fall at the Great Marsh. You still want to do that?
Yes, it was actually going to be a canoe and kayak with photography into the marsh.
Okay.
So as long as they think their water level will be okay, and they have all the equipment,
Okay.
that's what we're hoping on. And the other one is the coal cracker plant with the heavy machinery, which is, we had made a trip to the one of the coal companies up in Schuylkill County in 2019.
Oh,
and
the
we were
mines.
inside the coal cracker, and I found it to be phenomenal. I think everyone who went just loved it. And we were then going to do, in the spring of 2020, a trip to the same company, but be with all their gigantic earth moving machines and digging machines. And they were going to take us right up into the field with all that equipment to take photos of the equipment and the activity. And then COVID hit, but I'm hoping to maybe try to do that in the fall as well.
That was almost my job out of high school. Being a mechanic on the tipples. Yeah, I'm glad I never did it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right, now the next thing, I'm going to give Alan some time here, because that's our other challenge, correct, Alan?
Yes, we do have a challenge. I began working on this project January of last year because it was kind of left open. And I had just rejoined the board after quite a few years of not being active at all. I wanted to become active. I talked with Jeff for a while. And I initially was going to take a treasurer's job, but I ended up being the secretary. But Jeff talked to me and shared some of the difficulties he was having with this project that we have of the photographs that we provide to our medical facilities. It's a great thing. I can't give you the background because I wasn't around much. It's been going on for about 6 years, and Joel used to be the person in charge of it and did a wonderful job. And then things kind of slowed down and some people wanted things to keep moving. So I picked up the project from him and got it going pretty good. A couple little hiccups. But back in the days, the first 5 years, the photographs that were submitted, they went up to 24 by 36 in size. So we had a lot of 24 by 36 images. And then when I took over the project in January, the designer says, oh, we want to go bigger than that. We want to go 30 by 40. Well, I'm talking with Dan Berg and some of the things. We didn't have files that would make really, really good images, and he was a little concerned. And we found a workaround that a lot of the JPEGs wouldn't go that big, but the TIFF files would. So we've been using SmugMug, and I'll share my screen here and show you where we're set up in SmugMug. this is the view that I get for the Burke's BPS stock photos, and we have them grouped by members, by sizes. I have some non-member stuff, the full res in the main gallery. When I took over, there's over 500 images that we had in the main gallery. Now, one of the challenges we had, what Joel did is he printed out a lot of the pictures as PDF files and gave them to the designers. So the designers were working with paper copies of the pictures, and they still like to do that today. So I've been trying to get them to go into, if they want a particular size, they can go in to the 30 by 40, 24 by 36. And I have some 35 plus and the 16 by 20s. So if we go in here, this is what the designers can get to see. And they can pick these images and look at them to their heart's content. And if they pick one of them, fine, they'll let us know. And then what I do is I have to get that image down to Dan Berg, and Dan will do the actual printing for us. He's our proprietary printer. So that was working fine. And then I said, well, how do we get these TIFF files? Well, SmugMug came along and said, we're going to change where you can upload TIFF files. That's fine. But the only persons that can do it are the administrators. And we have about 5 or 6 people that have the administrator password to do this. We can't give it out to everybody because it's full control over the whole site. And we didn't want to give that away. So we came up with a workaround where there's a thing that Dan Berg uses to put his images up on his website. It's called Send This File. And I said, well, why can't we use that? So this is our club's website. And in the member center, we have the 3 things that we used to have, but now we have the special projects image upload. When you click on that, you need the same password to get this thing to work, that you need to go into the website.
Now,
we
Alan,
have
you're already logged in, correct?
Yes, this is logged in. It's the same password, and I'm not going to share that because everybody has that password.
Right.
When you go to run the upload program, it's going to ask you for a password. So it's the same one. But this is a little description of the process. If we go down here to click here, it'll jump out to the Send This File site. And this is where you can browse your computer and pick up to 5 files at a time. And it's going to ask you for a password. I will get an email from you, and the pictures will be up on their site. I will use that email to go to the site and bring those images down. And once I have them down, then I can get them up in SmugMug. Also in this document, we have some descriptions of what you should do to get good pictures. You know, at one time Joel got a little over involved, and he was actually editing members' files. And I said, that's not right. That from my philosophy that you should do the editing, and you should be using some photo editor to make sure that your pictures are as good as they can be. Just to keep things simple, Dan has suggested that we use a camera that will produce a 24 megapixel image. So that would be like 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. And just a very short thing there. And there's another document that's out there. It's a little more detailed on what kind of pictures. Like, we really don't want pictures hanging in hospitals that are nasty for children to look at. I just was down to the Children's Hospital in Lancaster that just opened. It's very close to the mall that's down there. off Route 30, the Lancaster Pediatric, and we have a lot of our prints, 20 of them, hanging in different rooms within there. And I put the placards up for those photographs. And we don't want photographs that children would find frightening, like anything with a mouth that's open about to bite somebody or something showing blood, even, like even a fish that's being caught that's bleeding. We don't want that. So water scenes are very nice, flowers, farm scenes. If you're interested in seeing some of the things that have been put up in the past, I can send you links and you can look at all of the different sites. We did all of the sites that St. Joe's used to have that are in Berks County. I think we did them all. And now we're putting photographs up in Lancaster. But they're asking for new images. So what I'd like to request is if you've got an image that you'd like to share, we get $30 for each time we use that image. You give up a little bit of ownership of it. We do request that you have a form filled out saying that you agree to having that photograph used for this project. And we'll go from there. Any questions?
Yeah, Alan, I think the important thing is what we have up there is getting a little old, and the images are too small.
Yes.
And they're requesting fresh images.
Right.
And it's such a good fundraiser for the club. I forget the numbers.
It's $30 an image.
Yeah, I know,
Like,
but
well, let's say for
but
the
the totals.
Children's Hospital, I just said, that was $600.
Yeah.
That money goes to Bill Conflin. He records it and he gives it over to Steve to put in the bank. I don't touch it.
Yeah, it pays for a lot of what we have to pay for. So, and it's effort for Alan, but it's not much effort for us. And you do get recognized on that placard. So your name's up there, the club's name's up there. So it's like and most of the people here are in the board. So we're preaching to the choir right now, but some of you who haven't seen this, it does make our club, and it has made our club quite a bit of money, funds.
I hope someday we can go beyond, that we
Yes.
can advertise that we have these available.
Yep. For other
Or-
professions, anybody can
They can
request
go in
them.
an
and-
office, they go in a bank,
Yep.
they go to school, they go a lot of places. But again, we're doing our printing strictly through Dan, because then we have control over that file that has the image.
Yeah.
And Dan does, as you know, Dan does a nice job.
Yeah. Because the designers had asked, they just want the image, the original, and they would go to their own printer, and we said no.
Yeah.
Because then we did lose control over our own images. So that's
Yeah.
something that the board did the last couple of years. It said, no, we did have a little pushback. We thought we were going to lose the project, but we really didn't lose the project.
No, because they work, the designers that are doing the Lancaster Hospital, they work with 3 different printers. Dan's one of them.
Yep.
And they will select images and they try to spread it around. It'd be nice if we could get the whole deal. I mean, I don't know how many total images are in that building, but I'll bet you there's 60 or 70 of them.
Yeah.
We have 20 of them.
So
Some of them aren't images, they're artwork, photographs of artwork.
Yeah.
Alan, question, in reference to print size, are they all 2:3 ratio? How do you know whether or not they want squares?
Today
So-
they're asking, every request that I've had has been for a 30:40, which is not an exact ratio.
Right. So the files, like the examples you showed, some of those are square, 1x1. So,
They may have used those in the past.
Yeah,
Because
but they're not.
Joel did, I
no,
would say
no,
Joel did
they
several
were my
hundred.
images and they were new. And I had, the email that went with them said that they could be, the ratios could be anything that the designers wanted. So is there a way to translate that? For the designers to know that a 1x1 or a 2x3 image could be made into a 3x4 image?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably the easiest way, Vince, is just keep everything that 3x4 or 30x40. And then,
30 by 45 would be the ideal,
yeah,
but that's what they ask for. And Dan
30
makes
by
it.
45?
30 by 45 would be the ideal ratio for most files. Not every camera shoots that ratio.
but 30x40 is what they've been printing, correct? Yep, which
Yeah,
isn't our,
they're coming out all right.
which
I
are,
haven't seen all of them that Dan's printed.
okay.
They look okay.
I've seen a variety of different sizes when I went to what was it? Guess it's Penn State where St. Joe's is.
Yep.
I was on a floor, all the Burks, a lot of Burks images were there and they were a variety of sizes.
Yep, that was with a different designer, a different company, a different vice president and everything.
So maybe, is it a possibility on the member center? You just upload the images and like you categorized them to different sizes. I mean, can't you just do that and let the designers pick what they want?
Well, I tried to get a minimum of a 24 megapixel and I try to put them up there as a 30 by 40. And, they can probably request a different size. But all of them that I've worked with over the last year and a quarter, they've been 30 by 40s.
So the
and I
practical problem is the following: say I want to participate and I never print 3x4. I always print 2x3, 16 by 9 or 1x1. So that would mean I would have to reprocess my images to submit them, which would be a kind of a negative process on my side, because once I've edited my image as a 2x3, that means all my masking, et cetera, is not going to work when I expand it to 3x4. So that's a lot of work, not knowing whether the image is selected. And that's why I left them in the ratios that I had done my edits and stated, I can, if it's selected and they want a specific size, I can go back and do that one and get it for Dan the way they need it. It's a lot to ask to redo 10 or 30 images to a size that is already not in your finished product.
Right, and you don't know if they're gonna pick it. And there's been a handful of people that I had to go back for and ask for a RAW or a TIFF file, and I was able to get just about all of them and get them sent out to Dan, and Dan could work with them.
So what you're saying, you'll post a different ratio, but then when it's requested, you go back to the photographer to get the final.
No, not exactly. That's part of it. If the designer looks at an image that I have sent in, that's a 1x1 image, the designer needs to know that I can redo that same image to the size that they want.
Right.
As opposed to, oh, well, that's a 1x1, that's no good. Let me look for one that's 3x4.
Oh, I see.
So I think if we could verbally have it written, not verbally, but if we could have it written in our contract with the designer or in the site or somewhere, that if an image is selected, it can be edited by the photographer to the size that's required.
Yeah,
Or they
there's
could-
no
Or they can at least
contract.
ask. They can at least ask or
Yeah.
request.
Yeah, and then if I say no, I'm sorry, it only works as a 1x1 because there's clutter, then that's a different story. But I may have artistically chosen a 1x1. They liked the image, but they wanted 3x4. But I'm not going to go through and do that for 40 images, not knowing whether or not they're going to be liked.
Oh,
I
this
think
is
they
on
picked-
this is on SmugMug, correct?
Yeah, I think
Um,
they pick the images by the way they look.
Yeah,
Because remember what Joel did, he gave them a PDF that had the picture on the PDF. Didn't say anything about the size. So they look at the picture and they say, we like that picture. And then from there, we see if we can get it to work out.
yeah,
It's not gonna be where they can just go into SmugMug and pick this picture and say, well, I want that one, give me that one. Because the files have to be given to Dan to print.
yeah.
If,
Well, on
So I
our,
guess
our
my point is the
galleries,
designer should, it's going to be very restrictive if the only thing we can submit is a 3:4 ratio. And if we don't have that restriction, then the designer should know that the majority of the images can be reprocessed by the photographer, not Dan, to match the size of their requirement.
Right.
yeah, anything though, Vince, we should ask the photographer to try to submit the 4:3 or 3:4. Yeah. Because that'll save a lot of back and forth for Alan. And
Well,
there's
we
no
don't-
question, but if you've already submitted them, yeah, we should have it up there to ask.
Not like they're asking for 20 or 30 photographs a month.
You're right.
You know,
Right.
it's,
And not from the same photographer all the time.
you know,
either.
some of the sites only use 3 or 4 of our images.
Right.
So,
Yeah, but the point of us bringing this up, it's a small group now, is to let everybody know in the club that we need the participation. And we'll work out the final details. But I understand what you're saying, Vince. You have some that you want to submit. You're not going to go back in and reprocess them to that 3:4. Go through all that
no,
work.
don't do that.
Yeah, not knowing.
But I'm also talking about moving forward. When I sit down and work my images, I'm looking at them creatively and I'm not looking at them, well, I have to process this to be 3:4 for the club. I'm processing them for me and then, okay, I
Right.
like that one. So now let me send this one into the club, but it's the wrong size. So now I have to start over again. So
You're not
for me,
thinking like the designers
I think
are.
it's important for you to understand my process. So as a contributor, so one of the very, very first things I do after I've deleted a bunch of images is to determine if it's going to work for me. I crop it first.
Yeah.
That's just the way my workflow is. And now I crop it and now I do my editing and I say, yeah, that's going to be good, or no, that's no good. So now once I'm done my editing, if I want to change my cropping, my masking doesn't work because the mask is only working on what's in my cropped image. So I'm not going to sit down and do a series of images from scratch that work for the club, because I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking for me. So now I'm going to choose the ones that I think might be good for Lancaster or wherever and submit those, but they're not necessarily well, actually almost never going to be 4:5 because I don't do that size.
Right.
So from a workflow point of view, I'll have nothing to submit moving forward. And I suspect others will be in a similar situation if they could only be submitted as a 3:4 ratio.
I think it would be best to just allow the artist, like Vince is referring, submit their image, put it in a category to a certain format size, and various designers, it sounds like there's a couple different designers based on the medical facility or place. They're going to pick what they want. You can put a note in there, hey, the most common size requested is so-and-so. And then Alan or whoever looks at the images can categorize them into the format of what they fit best. And the designers can look at them. They see an image in another category or size that they prefer. Then they can go out to the artist and request a possible different size cropping. Otherwise, they may, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to go to the artist. we'll just pick this, we'll just pick the size we want right away from these other choices we got.
Well, I think what Alan's saying is they're not looking at the proportion, they're looking at the content, the color, all that, so.
And when they're doing this, they're looking at thousands, not
Right.
all from us.
Right,
Yeah,
They've got catalogs of public stuff, you know, that they can go through and they can pick stuff from there.
right.
So
Yeah, I hear all that, but you're asking it to be submitted as a 3x4. So, I mean, I'm just telling you that that's going to be a restrictive point in getting new images.
well, I can't help it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
This is
is
what
where-
they're asking for 30 by 40 at this time. And in the last 18 months, it's been all 30 by 40. If that's a
Yeah.
problem, then deal with it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
no,
and-
well, I don't think that's the answer, Alan, because the dealer with
I'm
it
not,
means
I'm
that-
not gonna make 4 or 5 different copies of different prints and different things
Okay, well,
just to satisfy something, you know, if you don't want to submit an image because of some reason, that don't submit it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't
all
submit
right.
something, Vince.
I'm done discussing that, then I think, you know, then proceed as you're doing, then
Yeah,
go from there.
just keep it in mind that they're probably gonna request the 3x4. And if you have a panorama, it's not gonna work. If you have a square that only works in a square, I wouldn't submit it. But if something's close to the 3x4 and you're willing to reprocess it with a different crop, if they do request it, Vince, I wouldn't submit the ones that only work in squares or only work as a panorama.
Yeah, I fully understand that.
Yeah.
What I'm
So-
saying is I can if it's a selected image that will make the club $30, I'm willing to do the work to do that selective image. I'm
Right,
not willing to do the work for every image I submit to
right,
you
right.
for
So that's-
not knowing whether or not it's going to be submitted. But if that doesn't work, then that's fine.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, don't submit the squares. If you know it won't work in the 3x4.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But if you have one that you think would work, submit the square and you can reprocess it for them.
That's
Um,
not what
if-
Alan said.
If it's chosen, yeah.
That's not, well, that's different than what Alan has said. So I think we need to be square, we need to be straight on what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Working with these designers at this time, they want 30 by 40.
mm,
We can't state to them that these can only be made this size. I mean, that's not,
no.
No.
They're the customer.
okay.
If I tell them it can only be a 16 by 24, they'll say, fine, we'll pick another one.
Yeah,
Because they have so many to choose from.
yeah. So we're
Okay.
competing, so
Yeah.
we need to put this up there and present it the easiest way for them to choose. But I understand what Vince is saying. It's just we should just keep in mind, they're probably going to ask for the 3x4, 30 by 40.
And
So if it-
I'm not even sure there's anything in the mill right now.
Yeah, yeah. So we're just trying to get our catalog up there and running, and those I'll bet those dimensions change, and then all of a sudden they're going to start asking for squares because that's how design
Yeah.
goes.
Well, let's say you go to somewhere else like a school. The school's liable to ask for squares.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
How would we know if an image, like if I upload an image, how do I know it's a functional, right size? Who's
Yeah.
going to come back to me?
That's those are those technical downloads that we have up there, as far as what the resolution has to be.
Yeah, there needs to be it needs to be a good photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will look at them and get back to anybody who doesn't submit something that's if it's too much grain, if it's not the correct resolution, we'll get back to you. Alan will get back to you. Dan will get back to you. But Alan, you're going to go through them before you post them on that catalog.
I do, but I don't go to the extent that Joel did.
Yeah, right. And that's why we need to get the resolution correct in the front end. because you've been chasing people down to get the higher res for a lot of these images.
Only because the sizes that were up there were 24 by 36.
Right.
And the 24 by, Dan has software and he can enlarge stuff. Because he's printing on canvas, it's a little more leeway as to the way the image is gonna look on canvas. It's not like printing on the metal sheet or some of the papers that he has where you're gonna walk up to it
Right.
real close and take a look. You know, it's a little coarser.
I'm going to stop recording, guys. As I'll stop it.